right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of the Principal Notes podcast. And this time we're going to be talking about leadership, identity, and the cost of getting it wrong. So, what's our purpose? What's want to bring us back to our purpose at all times? We've all been in this game of education for a mighty long time. In fact, we're knocking on the door of retirement. Ain't it wonderful? And so, with that said, though, we've been a part of many conversations that have been held offline. And the purpose of this podcast is to bring all of those conversations out into the open. So that's what we're about, and that's what we're going to be talking about today and continue that trend. Hunter, go ahead.
Hello, welcome. Thank you all for participating. The first question that I have for you today is, how has leadership changed you for better or for worse?
All right. Leadership has definitely changed me for the better. I mean, one, I didn't do enough self-reflection and self-planning out of what I wanted to do and when and all of those things until leadership made me or taught me and showed me how to do those things and why it's important. So yeah, I went to Morehouse and I went to these schools, but I wasn't planning that 5 years, 4 years, 10 years down the road. I was just, I like this. Okay, then let me try this. You know what I'm saying? Let me try that. And that wasn't the best way all the time. It was my way, not saying it's the best way or the worst way. But because of leadership, it made me start to sit down, build in time to plan, to reflect, and really be present in where I'm listening better, engaged in a way to where I can fully understand and appreciate the experience and me listening to others so that I can grow and also help by listening, if that makes sense. Right. What about you, Hunter? What were some of your thoughts?
I think for me, if I answer the question, how has leadership changed me for better or worse, I'm going to always try to stick with the positive for better. I think it made me a much better and thoughtful person. I think entering leadership, I think I was about 27, 28 when I really first decided that I was going to begin to take the leap to learn about leadership and how to support others. But it also was a time in my life where I was single, I didn't have any kids, I wasn't married. And it was the first time, once I got a leadership role, that I think I really put people who are around me first. You know how you have kids and you have a wife, they all come before you?
Yeah.
For me, with leadership, it was the same way. Once I got the official role, the official title of being a leader at a school, it was the first time where I wasn't the first one that I thought about. It was the first time where I truly, truly thought about the other adults and their well-being and their happiness and satisfaction and growth and development before I thought about my own self and things that I needed. I kind of felt like you're leading a school, but also leading a family at the same time, where all their needs come before yours, and then you think about yourself after you have taken care of the bigger village.
Wow.
And I think, for better, I say, that's how leadership changed me. Because prior to that, it was always what I wanted, what I believed, what was best for me. But now you're thinking, what's best for the bigger group? What's best for the students? What's best for the teachers that you're leading, the community, even how you make decisions. Not the decision that's going to make me win, that's going to make me look better or feel more valued, but what's really going to be best for the organization, for the institution. And that was kind of the first time I had to think like that.
And I must admit, it was after a while of being in leadership that helped me grow in those different areas, right? Like you were saying, for me, it was all about a goal and achieving a goal, right? But it wasn't me thinking collaboratively in achieving that goal. It was about the goal first, then everything else, right? Versus that's not good leadership, and I've learned over time and through some pain that's not the best way of going about it. So leadership has definitely changed me too.
I'll add this to it as well. On another note, becoming more self-reflective and self-aware of how you're perceived by others.
Mm,
Leadership was the first time that came up.
yes.
As a teacher, or even as a student myself, I never got the feedback about how others perceive me
Hmm.
and how others view me. And I'll be honest, it wasn't always flattering feedback that I received in this when I got in this position. In
Hmm.
fact, sometimes I was taken back by some of the feedback and the responses that I got from people about how I was perceived as a leader by other people being teachers and even students in a lot of cases. Because you have to think, you're coming from being a teacher, you kind of the cool teacher, the student government advisor.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you have a great relationship with students for the most part. You have a
Yeah.
great relationship with a lot of staff and teachers from a personality standpoint. But in leadership, I think I learned that I didn't come off the same way as I did when I was a teacher, as I did when I was a leader.
Word. Word.
And I became, and I still have to reflect on that, honestly, even today.
Oh yeah.
I became more reflective about how I'm perceived by others in terms of the way I make them feel, the way I make them want to be part of the community, want to be part of the team. And
Mhm.
that is something that I think I still work on that.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing thing because every time you're dealing with a person leading the people, it's different. That person is different from one day to the next. Or you got a different person coming in, what have you, different set of dynamics. So it's an ongoing, every day, all day scenarios. And that's what forced me to be more situational. And what I was talking about being present, like literally locking in to the person I'm talking to right then. Not the goal, not the this, not the that, but do I really understand who that person is? And what you said sparked something else that that reflective, like there's that tool, that 360 tool. Do you want? I know that's not it's not adapt. It was adaptive, but it's more technical in that regards. Can you break that down a little bit, like why, what it did for you, et cetera, as we talk about how it changed you and being self-reflective?
Yeah. Taking 360 feedback surveys throughout the course of my career in leadership
Mm-hmm.
definitely helped me change for the better. Take
Mm-hmm.
something that wasn't as good and make it a little stronger.
Yeah.
Just allowing people to be honest, allowing people to really say how they perceive me, how I personally make them feel in the workplace
Yeah.
is probably the most beneficial thing that has happened to me in my career. Just knowing how I'm perceived and how I can adjust and adapt to make people feel. I won't say like they want to be felt, but make them feel more part of the team, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Making their input appear valued,
Absolutely.
making their just making them want to be part of my circle
Absolutely.
in terms of whether they're my supervisor or someone that I'm supervising or someone who I'm on a team with.
That's powerful. That 360 helped me too. It helped me see the gaps between my intentions and actually how I was perceived. You know, um, I was about the goal, like I said, but at the same time, I wasn't trying to push people away. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be rude or whatever. Not that people said I was straight up rude, but at the same time, they're like, "You're not caring about me." I'm like, wait a minute, I talk to you every day. I try to do this every day. But it was a gap between what I was thinking and my intention and how I was being received, how my message was really being received. So it gave me a moments to think about it. And it gave me something to really say, okay, this is my goal to improve upon because it's affecting my leadership, which then means it affects the results that I'm actually trying to get. So it's actually hurting or slowing it down because of how I'm coming off, although that's not my intention. One book that really helped me it actually gave me concrete, and I'm that person that I can't. Somebody just can't say, "Oh, do this." Like, what does that mean? How does that look? Help me out with that. I need some guideposts and things of that nature. And I'll find it's by Claude Felter. Oh, this gonna come back to me. I think Claude Felter and Melody Claude Felter and somebody else. It's called SYI, and it talks about 360. And if you get this result, or results. These are things that you can actually do, read, watch, etc., to actually improve in that area. And I was like, whoa, perfect. Even gave me some trainings to go look, let's go watch and go participate in. And it actually yielded big time benefits to take my intentions and make them actual reality. You're on mute.
All right, let's go to our second part.
Okay, cool.
What did leadership demand from you that you didn't expect?
What did leadership demand from me that I didn't expect? Wow. Oh, wow. Maybe you may take that one. I'll give me a moment.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Because for me, I was not prepared for the time commitment. I didn't expect the time commitment that was going to be associated with. I would say that more so the leadership role than leadership itself. I didn't expect the time commitments that came with school leadership. And in fact, I was caught off guard in some cases. Even though in preparation for leadership, I did a lot of things. I did a lot of events. I did a lot of school improvement work. But I was in preparation, and it's different once you actually are given a role and position. The time commitment that's expected from that, and I just recall leaving home in the dark, and coming home in the dark to get up again in the dark, to come back home again in the dark for various reasons. Absolutely. I always tell people about when my first child was born, and I was in my probably second year or two of I'll probably in my second year or two of leadership, and I was to leave home literally and stop by his crib. It'll be pitch black in the room. Leave, do my drive to work all day, stay that extra time to clear out things, and by the time I got home, he was back in that same spot again. The same spot that I left him in the morning. He was already back in that same spot. And that's when I really began to pay attention to the time. Because prior to that, I was single, no kids. Therefore, my time, I was able to give time, and time wasn't an issue.
Yes.
Because I didn't have anything else really to do anyway, so I didn't really pay much attention to the commitment component. But when kids came, when family came, that's when it became, oh, it's been 16 hours. I did 17 hours today, literally, not exaggerating, 17, 18 hours.
Easily.
Physical time.
I know.
That's when I began to realize the time commitment, and I wasn't really expecting that or prepared for that. And at the onset, that's why I always tell aspirants, I lead with that. I lead with that time component and all the things that it takes to really be committed and effective. I could have honestly, and you know what? If I wanted to, I could have just left because it was time to go.
Oh yeah, what you mean? Explain.
Left. Like it's 4 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock. It's time for me to go. I have things to do. I have to leave here. But you're into the improving lives of others. You're into the school improvement. Absolutely. And you know that some of those and I wasn't playing all day. I wasn't playing all day. I'm very good with when it's time for a task to be complete, and putting that attention to that task in order to get it done.
Absolutely.
So there wasn't a lot of wasting time during the day. It was just a lot of commitments, even
Mm-hmm.
commitments that didn't start at the school until 5 or 6 o'clock, that you had to commit to until 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock some days.
Yes, yes. Woo,
That alone can take you out.
you sure can. You
that
sure can.
alone, in fact, that alone will take you out.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not rushing to get into it. So I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Yeah, man, that time is significant, bro. And I want to piggyback on what you just said. That time, man, you talking about? I didn't know how I was gonna get all these things done. Like how, and I looked at my boss, my first principal when I became dean. I'm like, how you do it? You know, he was there like you said at dark. But at the same time, he was like, hey, we get here real early, maximize that early morning time so we can be home later on. I was like, oh, so getting there is like at 4 or 5 in the morning. Like I'll get up there Saturday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and be done by 9, so I can be with my kids for their all of their events. You know what I mean? All of the practices and all of that type of stuff. So I wouldn't. So I'm with you on that. And there's other things, other strategies that I had to learn because you're right. That time commitment, it wasn't. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But in addition to that, we had a running joke about things that we weren't prepared for, or that the job showed us, like, oh, they didn't tell. And it was a running joke talking about a school. I won't name the school. That this school didn't prepare you for that, did it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that program didn't prepare you for this. You're right. It was a running joke between us. Something that happened, we're like, what in the world? There wasn't a book written on this one. So that's one of the things, like you said, time. The second thing is that there's a lot that I wasn't prepared for, that the job does, right? And makes you grow in the moment. But one thing that really, and I'll keep harping on this, I'll bring it back to it, is relationship building and being intentional with that is not something that I did. And this goes back to what I said before, that I did with intentionality. That's not who I am. I've always been the first and out there doing. That I didn't take the time to build the relationships all along the way, um, of both people with me, people above me, or even direct reports. And it wasn't until leadership did it make me say, this is so very crucial. Student achievement, yes, that's the goal, but really, Hodge, your leadership needs to be, how am I building relationships first, then systems, which by design after that gets the student achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Versus as a teacher, my mind was get the student achievement. The relationships, like you said, I was cool with kids anyway, so it didn't really take intentionality. But as a leader, it totally showed me that approach had to be changed.
Yeah.
And that was what the demand of how I had to do that and be intentional with that and grow in that area. And no
Okay.
program, and the programs that I went to didn't prepare me for that.
Well, I would say this, and being someone who has prepared hundreds of leaders,
Yes.
from the instructional coach to the teacher leader to the principal to the assistant principal, district leader, all those people.
Yeah.
There's a program is not going to prepare you for everything that you're going to come through in the job, because there's certain things about your personality that's just that's you, specific to you, and everyone has that. So there's not a program that's going to tailor to every single person in the world who has a particular leadership need. I think when you think of programs, I think the job and the role of the program is to, one, expose, share the conversation like what we're having right now, let people know about these things, let them know about the political things that's going to happen that you can't prepare people for. You can't prepare people for the politics. You can't prepare people for how they're going to respond to a death or multiple deaths. that happen in certain schools,
Mm-hmm.
how they're going to respond to teacher strife or community strife, because I think it depends on that person's personality and how they deal and manage conflict and problem in
Mm-hmm.
general. Those who suffer in general with those things are going to have a hard time when those things happen in their leadership or in their for this conversation in their school building
Mm-hmm.
or school location or district institution, wherever they are. If
Absolutely.
you struggle with problem solving, with collaboration, with teamwork in regular life, you're probably going to struggle when you come through those things in your work life. And
I,
a program just can't prepare you for those type of things. We can prepare you for X's and O's, meaning how you actually run a building from the academic standpoint, instructional leadership, managing operations, even developing people, building a culture. But when it comes to those components like beliefs and values, problem solving, how you manage yourself in situations where things are tough, some of the things you just have to experience and see how your general personality helps you manage that.
mm-hmm.
And then once you experience them, then you can be coached. I think you can be coached through certain things by having a principal coach or a leadership coach or someone who can help you talk through some of those problems.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so many problems. It's too many ifs and scenarios that can happen that you'll never be prepared because you went to school or because you were in the Aspiring Leader program or because you got a master's or a doctoral degree in something. Because there's too many things that happen that you're just not expecting to even happen. Like the things that you are, the type of things that we've seen in 20 years
Mm-hmm.
of leadership, you could not have told me that I would have been part of those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
this is where you and I have to disagree. And this is one of the things that I love about our podcast. This is a real conversation that we're having and we're sharing it with others. I disagree with you on that, man. And this is one of the things that I loved about your program that you develop and putting on online here. And also when our program together, that only one other program came close to, and another program didn't even have it on the radar, is that we then started putting Myers-Briggs so you can understand yourself, your core values, your beliefs. That was one of the first assignments that our aspiring leaders in the program that you started came up with. So yeah, we did the X's and O's, the management operations. We had people come and train and budget and all of those good things, which are perfect. You need them, but we came together and said, "Hey, Myers-Briggs, are you taking Myers-Briggs? Are you taking these battery of assessments to know who you are and how you show up?" We had them do the 360 to where they can do it and say, "This is what you're thinking you are, but in reality, this is how you're being perceived." And then now we give you not only this is how you show up, so you understand that, so you're actually being, as I get ready to do this, this is how I'm showing up. What are my blind spots automatically?
Mm.
And then now that you have that, you're able to say, "Oh, who do I need on my team who do I need to talk to before I even say a word or try to address this problem,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that problem is?" Because I am more self-aware of who I am as I show up, say, or whatever, and then how I need to counter that and be like, before I say this is my natural statement, natural thing. Let me do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make my leadership effective. And
Mm-hmm.
we did that with Myers-Briggs. We did some conflict, and we started doing change awareness, how you handle
Yeah.
change and how people handle change. And that's one of the great things about, and you're my boy, yes, but I ain't trying to, and we worked on the program. I'm not trying to toot your horn, but that was
Yeah.
a great thing about the program,
Yeah.
how focused it was on the adaptive leadership side. And that's what I believe that was powerful about
Yes.
the program.
And I would say this.
Mm-hmm.
I really grew into that in developing that program. I
Okay.
grew into
Okay.
the adaptive piece. Because think about it, when we were at Mays, and when we first really started the leadership pipeline work, we were heavy on the technical X's and O's.
Yes. Yes.
Big time. Oh,
Yes.
they knew. When I say they, I'm talking about the aspirants.
Okay.
Knew what to prepare for and what to expect when they got their role. And eventually, because of my own development, to participate in fellowships, whether it was the KIP Foundation Fellowship or Wallace Work, the Wallace Foundation, MCEL, which does great work on 360, by the way.
Okay.
I'm plugging them right now. They helped me grow stronger into the adaptive piece, where it really became a blended approach to developing the leaders, where it was almost they understood that getting that adaptive piece will help the technical become much easier.
Yes.
And I would say when I first started, it was like heavy technical, heavy X's and O's of how do you run and manage and lead a building from the manage operations, instructional leadership, build culture, develop people side, to now it became more balanced, or even more on the beliefs and values, creating a culture, vision,
yes,
being innovative, being collaborative, team building, problem solving. It became balanced, or even a little more on the adaptive side, as we really got towards the end of my time doing the program.
Yeah.
But if I were to ever go back and start over, I think it'll be a good balance of both, but really heavier on the leadership and people side.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Much heavier on the leadership and people side than the technical aspects
Absolutely.
of it.
I think that was perfect. That's one of the things I loved about the program that you started, and I was able to join. The program that helped me down the road on that was Sable at the time, and that's what helped me. That was my first introduction to Myers-Briggs. I never heard of it prior to, conflict, change awareness. I wasn't aware of any of those things until Sable helped me, and that was many years ago. So, but definitely. So, but let's shift gears a little bit. Since we're talking about adaptive leadership, we're talking about the human point and how important that is. Talk to me about, man, what do you think? And let's talk about trust, since we're talking about humans a little bit. Why is trust so fragile in schools? Why is it so important in how we deal with trust? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Well, trust, going back to that adaptive piece, where we started off talking about how to build a master schedule, how to do observation and feedback, how to make your budget connect with your vision and mission of the school. That component was left out. And in reality, when I reflect, and when I say it was left out, I'm talking in our early phase, in our early stages of doing leader development. Even at the university, even when we were getting certified, and that was like many years ago.
Decade.
Over 20 years ago. Over
Exactly.
20 years ago. They too went heavy into those things and left out the trust, which is the foundation of everything that happens inside of an institution, not just a school, but any organization. And I think about the dysfunctions, the 5 dysfunctions of teams pyramid, and their hierarchy, and how big trust is on the hierarchy being the foundation, being at the bottom, which tells us that's where you start. Right, that's where you start with the trust component, because without trust, nothing can be built upon. And guess what's at the very top of that pyramid? Results of our data.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a lot of institutions, it's flipped, where the results are at the bottom, meaning when I say at the bottom, they're the foundation, they're the priority, and we never get to the trust component.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So and where in the real world it's supposed to be flipped, where you build trust, and from the trust, all those other things will begin to happen, and you'll end up getting closer to your result, the outcome that you want. To answer your question, trust is everything. I think in order to build teams, in order to get those systems running the way you want them to run, you have to establish trust in the people that's going to be doing the work, helping you carry out the vision, helping you carry out the mission of either your school or your district. And in building that trust, having that foundation of trust and understanding how to build it by being vulnerable, by being transparent,
Yes.
by discussing your strengths, your weaknesses, who you are
right.
as a person, what got you here, why you believe what it is that you believe, why you fight so hard for teachers, why you fight so hard for students, and sharing those things, sharing those stories, sharing how you got here, including the flaws that you have, including the strengths that you have. Those are ways that you begin to build trust in your team, which will help them do other things that will get you to the results that you want at the end.
Absolutely. You're so right, man. And that trust is the foundation. And like I said before, I had it flipped. I was all about the results and then trying to get to the trust. And that's just not how it works to be effective. Now, we had some results, but it still wasn't sustainable. It wasn't, we had a year of good results. And then what happened next? And this is when I first had Eagle Leadership Academy for the first 2 years of it at Mays High School. And we had, change. But then how do you sustain that over time? How do you keep people motivated and wanted to do? Is because of trust. And I didn't take the time to build that because it doesn't just happen. It is literally earned when somebody doesn't know you in that way. There's all these sayings, trust is not given, it's earned. I didn't spend time earning it. I didn't do the things that you just listed to earn that trust from my people, right? They just, they were good people, and they did what they were supposed to do because they wanted to and they had their own goals. But it wasn't because of my intentionality. And that's where it didn't grow until my third or fourth year in leadership that I really started putting emphasis on that. But then there's a saying that it brought up to about start off slow to end fast. So start off slow, taking that time to have these conversations, taking that time to build as a team, to do some teamwork, some actual intentional things in place. Taking that time when I'm leading, is not me sage on the stage leading, it's facilitating, which shows that I trust you to do your best. I don't have to be the one that's doing it all. No, I trust you to do what you say you're going to do or what you've been tasked or assigned to do or what have you. That's something that I had to grow on. And as I got that, it opened up the doors for me. It opened up success became sustainable. Let's talk a little bit more about trust. Let's stay on trust because it is the foundation of every single thing. Because we deal with humans in all aspects of our job as school leaders and district leaders. So, how do leaders unintentionally damage trust? So nobody wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I'm gonna mess up today. I'm intentionally gonna damage trust today." How do they unintentionally damage trust?
By not intentionally focusing on it, right? By not, and these are things that being intentional about trust is not something that you just wake up saying, "I'm going to be intentional about building trust in my system, in my school system, or in my school." I think what we do wake up knowing is we better get in there and teach correctly. We know that. We wake up knowing that.
Yep.
We wake up knowing that the budget needs to be right. The mass schedule has to be done.
Yep.
That we have to participate in collab team meetings, and that we're going to get observed and be given. I think we wake up knowing those type things because those are part of our core. That's part of our core work as educators. And sometimes those adaptive things are not intentionally told to us as leaders, aspiring leaders, sitting leaders,
Word.
even experienced,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of stumble across it in some cases.
Yep.
That hey, beliefs and values are critical. Trust is important. Co- Collaborating is important. Sharing your experiences with your team, that's important. I think we come across those type of things once we see roadblocks
Yeah.
in our X's and O's, right?
Yes,
Once we
sir.
see that hey, the results aren't quite what we thought they should be, let's really dissect why is that the case.
Mm-hmm.
The the technical things aren't going as well as they should be. Now leadership needs to come in.
Yep.
I was just talking to somebody the other day. I was like,
What's up?
leadership is mainly needed when things are not going right. Right? When things are going right, when everybody knows what to do, there's no dysfunction in the organization. Typically, you don't need leadership. You don't need leadership is not needed then. Leadership is mainly needed is mostly needed when something malfunction. Something didn't go as planned. Because when things go as planned, then we don't have to step in as leaders
Mm-hmm.
because everything is perfect. Everything's going. Hey, people are doing what they're supposed to do. Leadership is mostly needed when something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something is not quite like you thought it should be, or like you expected it to be.
Absolutely.
And this could be something as simple as the way dismissal has happened. Hey, this is our dismissal plan. It went perfectly, but then you see, oh, my dismissal plan. Kids are the line's too long. Parents are blowing honking the horn.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are about to now they're about to fight. Now there's a problem because the dismissal plan didn't go as well. Now leadership is needed in order to make that adjustment. That's when you come. And that's just a simple
Word. Word.
example.
But
Or
it
the teaching and learning is not going as well as I thought. Now leadership is needed to go in there and do some observations and give some feedback and find out what the gap is.
yeah.
What's the high leverage action item I should tell the teacher to to correct? Now leadership is needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I always say leadership is needed usually when the plan is not going the way the plan was expected to go.
I can see that. I can see that. And I want to add to that whole how do leaders unintentionally damage it? By not uh, making those deposits in relationships first. You're making withdrawals from the bank account without first putting money in. And then that's when those dismissals not happening properly. The person's not on duty when they're supposed to be there. Why is that? Or why something is not going on a plan because some human, be it a kid, adult, whoever, didn't do like we had initially planned. Well, that's because a lot of times that deposit, that trust, that vulnerability hasn't been built yet. You haven't built that relationship with me, at least in my experience. And then as I circle back and think even more, um, did you even think of me when you made that decision as a leader? Did you even listen? And when I say listen, not just listen meaning with your ears, but did you observe? Did you get any data points? Did you only hear one side or did you go to multi sides? At that point, when you make a decision without doing those things, now I don't trust your decision making process. So anything that you say out your mouth at that point, I'm like, And then that's when you start having those meetings after the meetings, the parking lot meetings, the water cooler meetings, when they start, yeah, they say yes, but then they go and do something totally different when they shut the door because that hasn't happened and that trust hasn't been built there. I don't trust, or it has been damaged, and you haven't done that. And I love something you said before. And it brings me back to some of my younger days, not just my younger days, but you are either building or destroying trust. Is not in between. You either are building the trust every single day, like you said, or you destroying it every single day. What you do say is either building it or destroying it. There is no in between. So, how am I showing up and interacting with you? Is it building trust or taking away? My decision making, did I include you? Did I collaborate with you? Or if I'm not, and it's affecting you, then I don't believe I have any say. I don't believe I have any efficacy. And then therefore now I may have some shutdown. I'm leaving when the bell rings, I'm out the door. I beat the kids before because you haven't built that trust. You haven't built that relationship with me. So those are just some of the ways that leaders unintentionally, in my mind, damage trust. So Hunter, let's begin wrapping up here and looking ahead. What conversations do you think we should have coming up in the next podcast or two?
I think we should think about bringing on sitting leaders and having conversations with them about how they build trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People that we see as North Star leaders.
Okay. Okay.
Who we wish to have others mimic, mm-hmm. or learn from, if you will. I think that'll be a good conversation. Getting some tangible evidence, yeah. Or even finding people who started off weak, started off as having a lot of trust issues, but they've grown, and talk to them about and learn from them about things that they did to build and establish trust in their organization. It can be, and honestly, for trust, they don't even have to be educators. I think they just need to, any institution can help us learn about trust. Because I always say those adaptive things that we teach in leadership go beyond just the school system and schoolhouse. They can be used in any organization, including in your home.
Absolutely, you're right. Because that you mentioned the 5 dysfunctions of a team. That's everywhere. That's everywhere. You're so right, and I agree with you. So I do believe, and we will definitely be bringing in voices to the table, so they can give us their perspectives, share some of their lived experiences, so that our listeners will grow from it and benefit from it too, and learn from different angles, not just the three of us. Upstreamers, yourself, and me. We will be able to add that value. So I 100% agree. So with that said, hey, come back, listen to more, and then give us some feedback. What do you want to hear? What do you think about and would like for more insight on? And so that we can make sure it happens.